And this is my Jeff. And so he was the oldest of the next generation. I'm the oldest of
this, our generation.
this. And then he's the oldest of your guys' generation.
You're not talk loud. Okay, how about Frank's family?
Let's see, it's myself and Bonnie. And then Sandy's Kristen, and Reese is here too, right?
Yeah, he's somewhere.
And how many kids?
Our 3 kids.
3 kids there. And then Karen and Russ is outside.
Most of mine are here.
Yeah, she has hers and she's importing some from international places. She didn't have enough, so there. I think that's. Oh, and Jennifer, I forgot. No, Caleb, her kids?
No, the little one needs to go down for now. Caleb might come too.
Okay, so that's us.
Mom, Lexi, go on.
You're the oldest of us. You want to?
Don't.
Okay. Gayla and Scott. And all right. What did you bring? Amber and her family. We've got 2 out of state and 2 that couldn't be here. So. Okay. And Lori and Rob.
Natalie and Heather are here, Kim and Rachel are not.
Yeah. Okay, and how many grandchildren?
A lot. Several.
And then, us. John. And, let's see, oldest to youngest. Emily and her little group here, we have 2 grandchildren. And her husband Ryan. And little John, who lives over here on the side channel. And Sarah and Grace. That's us.
And Gwen isn't here, and Chris is in North Dakota.
He lives in Linus. So, and he has a son leaving on a mission this week before Christmas to
Brazil. Yeah.
He's getting old. Okay. Shannon. Come out here.
Jordan and I, Natalie, Sarah's coming in a minute.
Step out. See you. Step out or hear you. See you. No. Step out, Shannon, and introduce.
I did. Jordan and I and Natalie and Sarah will be coming in a few minutes. And our other 2 are in Utah working.
And your sister is who?
Lexi.
Go ahead.
Crystal. My husband Gary's the taco guy out there. And I have 1 child here, Josh, and this is our first grandbaby. My daughter who's working couldn't come. This is her son, Sonny. So that's all we've got here. My other son, Riley, is also coming, so when he gets off work. That's it for us right now. Your family?
Just a minute. Robert may be coming, but he may come right when it's done.
Where does he live?
Florence.
Oh, great.
We didn't get Robin, right?
So,
Did we miss Robin?
Yeah, I said Robin.
Oh, you did, okay.
she's our
Okay, thank you.
Is that it? Is that everyone?
Yay.
All right.
taking her teeth. She looked over at me and
The front.
take her front teeth and stick them out and put them back in her mouth, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, we call that the donkey face.
Yeah. Oh, she used to do that. I don't know if she did it to any other ones, but she liked to do it to me.
She liked to hassle you, Roman. She had her 4 front teeth kicked out in 8th grade by a horse. She was backing a horse up and she backed him into an electric fence. And it spun around and kicked her teeth out. We all have nightmares about spinning our teeth in our hands, because she told us that story so much. It was just...
Some of us are traumatized by falls.
Yeah. Especially when we felt a dog in the milk.
Just that, and the fact that when she came in, when I went over your house up there on the mountain one time, and she, Robin, come here, look. She grabs me by the hand, walks me into the bedroom, and goes, look at this bed with the mirrors on the ceiling. I'm like, okay.
You guys would make her parents have to be perfect. Sure, it'd be nice.
No, your mom was just fun to be around.
Robin, as you heard, they both said that when they took off their glasses, they were so blind they didn't do any good anyway.
The real fun story about that, he bought that bed at the fair.
Yes.
State fair.
Oh, no fair. It was a water bed, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a
Yeah,
water
but I
bed.
was over there one time.
What other kind of bed could you have with mirrors?
Yeah.
The real funny part of that, Robin, is I was over there one time when he had Elder Perry there with his wife, and they let the Perrys use that bed.
Yeah, the Perry slept
And boy,
in
did
the
they
bed.
take a ribbing from the Perrys.
There's part of that too. So we took a trip up to Salt Lake with them and went to conference, and we're all kind of jamming in. He had the e-ticket, so we sat up towards the front there. Elder Perry comes in, goes halfway across the aisle, leans over, shakes Grandpa's hand, or Dad's hand, and they says, and told everybody around, he's got the best bed ever. To half the row all the way around.
Dad was so embarrassed.
I just remember swimming in your pool and having that car come around the corner and crash through the wall, and we're in the swimming pool and the lights were like coming at us.
You know what? We weren't there. You were there with Shelly.
Oh, was that?
Yeah, because we were out of town and Shelly was watching the house when that happened.
Yeah, we were swimming in the pool and a car just comes crashing and their lights are like right on us. It was at night.
Yeah, some drunk driver.
Yeah.
I still have a cutting board that Uncle Fenton made us for a wedding gift.
Yeah.
It was 42 years ago.
Same here, and a little chest, too, like a little cedar chest.
That's awesome.
We have one of his desks we got from Grandpa.
So how many people, Scott, I was really surprised. How many people here haven't been to Woodruff?
You haven't been?
I was really surprised because I thought all of our generation had taken their family.
What's there anymore? I haven't
We'll
been in
spend a
some
week on
time.
vacation there, is that what we do?
Spent a week one night.
Maybe a half hour.
No, you go to Snowflake and you go.
Every time we go up there, my kids just kind of roll their eyes like, oh, here we go again. We got to drive through Woodruff.
I went through with my dad.
No, you don't drive through Woodruff, you drive to Woodruff.
No, you drive through it to get to the graveyard. And then you can probably come back through
Oh
it.
yeah, you have to turn around and come back
The
out.
ditch was so big, and then like the ditch is like this wide now, you know. And Jimmy Busby climbing up and walking across the steel bridge that was like a mile long, and you go down there and the bridge is about as big as this room now.
We went one time when we were teenagers. Do you remember? Uncle Melvin and Aunt Inez were there, and they gave us raw milk and fresh bread and
corn on the cob.
homemade butter and corn on the cob and tomatoes, and it tasted best.
Robin and I went up, what, 20 years ago to get some genealogy from Aunt Margie, and we scanned it and put it on CD. But we stayed at Uncle Melvin's house, and they were down here in Mesa. And they came home while we were there. You remember what we did the night they came home? They had us sit around and play Rummy Cube. Remember? they were just there and said, normally we play this by ourselves, but it's nice to have company here. And they sat and played it, but it was pretty good.
My memory of being there was Uncle Don taking us to see the Indian drawings on
Petroglyphs.
the petroglyphs. Do you remember taking us in the truck to see the petroglyphs?
Yeah, I remember going to the Indian, down the, not Shark Creek,
But this is up on the butte though?
it's on the, no, down the creek. It's the creek that goes through into Woodruff. It dumps out right at Woodruff.
Yeah, and we had to crawl on our hands and knees on some ledges to get where we were going, and I was petrified. It was just really fun.
The Indian drawings on the butte are all gone now.
Yeah.
They've mined them all off.
No, if you guys go to Woodruff, there's Zenith is where their old homestead is, and we just went there, what, maybe 5 years ago?
Is that where we got the flat tire and you tried to fix it with bubble gum?
Yeah, that was that.
We had two fond memories.
And we had a little bicycle pump. Yeah, chew the gum, we'll stick it in the holes in the bicycle pump.
Lisa-
You can get the adobe bricks from the house. Just watch out for rattlesnakes, but there's...
Lisa and I went through Zenith about 10 years ago. Okay, so we're driving and there's those adobe houses. There's a guy there with a flat tire. And I stopped and I said, do you need any help? And he said, no, I've got it about done. And I said, this is my great grandparents' home. And he said, oh really? He goes, well, I got something for you, follow me. Now picture this. This guy has a flat tire at the same time we pull in there, okay? We follow him back. He worked at the paper mill. And he gave us a piece of family history from a newspaper article back in the 70s or 60s that a lady wrote about the people who lived in Dry Lake and tells all about our families and everything.
Wow.
And then you went up to the sawmill and brought it back and goes, here, you want this.
Wow.
Yeah, that was really cool. Do you know where that's at? It's somewhere, we can find it. But yeah, I couldn't believe how that all just happened like that.
The old Gardner luck.
Your Grandpa Gardner, they lived at Dry Lake. He used to ride his bicycle into Snowflake to go to school. I don't remember how many miles that is. Somebody maybe can remember. It's like 12 miles or so. They lived at Dry Lake. They took us out to Dry Lake and showed us where they had grown up. And there was a dugout there, about this big. And there was a few pieces of some board still leaning up there. And they said, your Grandma Gardner, whenever she was cooking in the house, if she wanted an egg, the hen house was about, a good 30 yards from the house. She ran all the way out to the chicken house and get an egg and come back to the house. That woman, she said she ran everywhere she went. And she was a hewer.
Great grandma.
When you go to the White Mountains, you go through Heber. When you go through Heber, there's two creeks come together. There's Black Canyon, I think it's Black Canyon,
Right here, like.
and Buckskin Draw. Buckskin is named after Buckskin Hewer, who was your great-grandmother's father. And he was a mountain man. He was always in Buckskin. That's where he got his name. But anyway, when they came through Pine, when Grandma Heward, who was later Grandma Gardner, she was only 2 years old. She told me this. And the church told him to go to Tuba City. Yeah, no. What is the other one up there?
Cayenne?
St. John? No.
Not Tuba City. Anyway, they moved up there and she grew up there for quite a few years. From 2 years up a little bit. And then they moved back down to the Silver Creek, was that little creek where we went to see the archaeological drawings on the.
There's a lot of stuff in the history where they talked about how Pine had become adversarial towards the Mormons. And I think I saw it in quite a few of the different histories that the Saints were encouraged to leave Pine because they were going against the Mormons an awful lot. And it was in the history, so it must have been a
Some of the people stayed in Pine, and some of them, the church had some of them go up there to, that isn't Tuba City. That's gonna drive me nuts. Anyway, that was the same place where Jacob Hamlin was imprisoned with the Indians for 3 or 4 days, and some of them wanted to kill him and some of them didn't, and they finally the good ones talked the bad ones out of letting him go. And but anyway,
If you ever go to St. George, it's worth the trip to go to the Jacob Hamlin house. Because it's a house, has anyone else been there?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. It's a house where he lived there with a couple of his families. And I could just picture, there's a big room like this upstairs, and I could just picture wives and kids and everybody having a fun time together in a room like this. So it's worth it if you're going up that way.
And we're related to him on the Lamb side.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, and I'd go through my dad for Jacob Hamlin.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know you guys had.
Yeah, because we're related to the Farrens.
Okay.
And he married Janetta Farron, right? Is that right? Is that where it ties in?
I don't know. We go through Priscilla.
Mom and Dad are ready to go.
Well, you know, if you're around here long enough, you're related to everybody anyway, right?
My mom and dad were, second cousins? Joel Eager, they came from 2 of his wives.
Oh.
They found out after they're married that they were.
Oops.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have a common ancestor too. Because we have McBrides in our line and Randy's a McBride.
Yeah, we haven't quite tracked it, but I think that could be information. Yeah, there's a couple different McBride lines.
I I just remember getting together with cousins at Grandma and Grandpa's on Christmas Day.
Those were the best memories.
And eating outside and in their backyard and they
had like a willow tree that we'd go
on.
Mulberry.
It was
Two mulberries.
There was a bottle brush when we were
Okay.
Did they have a dog next door that would drink the ball?
Yeah, Grandpa would shoot it with his wrist rocket. He kept a wrist rocket by the back door. When the dog would bark, he'd step out the back door and put a pellet in it. Whack! Through the old actors.
You guys remember all the stray cats Grandma used to take care of?
Oh, yeah.
Always used to have a stray cat. And it was so funny because she could go out there and give it the food, but if you walked out that door, those things would take off. They only trusted her.
Yeah, they were both pretty feral.
And Grandma's macaroni.
Oh, yeah. I found the secret after that.
Yeah, sugar.
She told me, yeah. She told me, she gave it to me before she died.
Does anybody have the frozen lemon cake cheesecake recipe? She called it cheesecake, but it was, nobody has that?
I don't know, but I found some recipes and there's all of them.
Okay.
I remember her vinegar cake.
Oh, yeah, the vinegar pudding. She always made that at the cabin.
She made that at the cabin once.
What about the grapes?
Yeah,
The great big grapes. She made all this.
Oh, big glass grapes. Remember the lapidary?
The lapidary. They used to make jewelry. I had a tie pin from Big Grandpa made for every one of my boys. And
I know, that's the thing that makes me sad.
I remember her when she was in bed and she would call him. You know, remember how she would call him?
And that was
She'd say, "You." Yeah. "You," and that would be his signal, and he'd come see what she did.
Actually, it's just nice.
Or we would show up and she would say, "Could you go get the knives, Arthur?" She honestly believed there was a mean Arthur and a nice Arthur. And so she would ask for the nice one because he had been on her case all day about something.
Yeah, a couple of times she said if he didn't shape up, she wouldn't marry him.
You should tell the anchor.
Should I tell that one? I didn't know if I should or not. I thought about it. You were there. You guys were there in the hospital. And by this time her mind was, so we should say,
a scary day.
this was not Grandma's normal thing, but Grandma had this box with I don't even know how many little droppers of eye drops that they'd put in her eyes for the glaucoma. And it was kind of pointless because she was completely blind, but he still insisted on putting in those drops. Well, the nurse came into the room with the box and she says, "Ella, Arthur says it's time for your drops." And she looks up at the nurse and she says, "Well, Arthur can go to hell." And Arthur was not amused, but the rest of us were going, we were trying not to laugh.
Probably like the second time she ever said hell.
Yeah, probably. So again, for the video, that was not normal Grandma. That was when her mind was slipping, but it was quite humorous for the rest of us. So maybe it was some secret things held up inside and she just let it out.
Well, she was,
5 years.
when she was in that state, when she was blind, she sang. She went back, her mind went back to all these songs. And there was so many those old songs. I couldn't ever remember hearing her sing.
Well,
before that.
Grandpa said he didn't know she could sing, and I'm thinking, did you ever give her a chance?
But here's the thing that he told me. He didn't know for years that she could sing. And when he figured it out, it was that she was an alto. And when he started pitching things lower for her, then she started to sing, and he realized that she had a lovely little voice.
She did.
So, yeah. So when she was sick in the end, I did that a lot. I'd bring my hymn book, and we would just sing hymns. She and I would sing them together. That was
And nursery, she loved to sing nursery rhymes with the kids.
I remember some books we used to have that apparently were hers. And I mean, these are books that, I mean, we had versions of the old nursery rhymes and the old Aesop's fables and those old books. I just thought, boy, those have been handed down for generations. They will be handed down from generations. And then I look at our generations from me on down, it's like they don't even know what it means to cry wolf, you know, or the thorn in the lion's paw, you know, and those lessons you all learn from all those. But I wish we could get those old books again.
I have the books.
Do you have those books?
Except for the first two, because they were actually bought for Marlene when Marlene was little. And of course they were in Grandma's cupboard. and then they went to my mom's, and then, so I have them, except Marlene had, she had been able to duplicate 3 through 10, but she didn't have 1 and 2 because that was the best ones with all the poems and everything. So when I told her I had them, then I went ahead and sent her 1 and 2. So you probably have a whole set, right?
And one of those
The child's books.
Find them.
The child craft books, but I have 3 through 12 that are original to the set.
No, you're not talking, no, the one April has are ones that were ours. They're not the old ones.
They're orange child craft books.
I'll keep an eye out for them. Like I said, I just, all boxes out, I don't know what's in them yet.
So I just want you to know that those are the original too, and I have the rest of the set because she had already found all the others. Yeah.
I remember Grandpa had 1 or 2 Savage rifles, you know, and I never thought of him as a hunter. But my mom said, you know, he used to go out and get rabbits around Woodruff and have them for dinner, you know. And yeah, I don't even know what caliber they were or anything. He had 1 or 2 of those, and then of course there's the violins he had. Those were things to remember, and what he did, of course, with guitars. We always like to listen to him sing.
Had the food storage behind the drapes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The big metal
Food storage.
Square cans of wheat and all the stuff inside there, and you always used to go in there and look and
That's
I remember
that one middle bedroom in their house. I would always look in there. There was just stuff everywhere. It's like a treasure room.
Well, and everything's stored in the glass jars in the pantry.
Oh yeah.
Did you
Pickle jars.
ever sneak in and strum his guitar? Because I mean, if he heard you, you're in trouble. But you could sneak in, find his guitar, and strum it a little bit, you know. And if you don't have a little kid, and you don't have a guitar. That's like cool, you know.
So we had a question last night. We were scanning a picture, and it was labeled 3 of the 4 Butte 4, but there were 4 of them there, and so we were trying to understand.
Was it the Butte 4, the 4 siblings?
there was 5 of them actually.
There was 5? Well, it said 3 of the...
There's the Butte 4, but there was one that sometimes couldn't make it, and another one would come in and do it.
Was it Smithson?
No, it was Ollie, Arthur, Melvin, Ethel,
But I don't.
And Marjorie.
and Marjorie, and they would switch off. There was 5, but
I
there
don't
was
think Ollie was part of it because she was
Yeah,
too
she was
young.
the piano.
piano.
She was there on the piano.
Oh really?
no.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I remember them saying that it was a Butte 4, but when one couldn't be there, the other one sometimes was there. So there was actually really 5, but there was they called it Butte 4 because most of the time only 4 of them were playing.
Yeah, the picture said 3 of the Butte 4.
But there were
But all
pictures.
4 of them were in the picture.
Well, maybe that's because it was Aunt Ollie, and she wasn't part of the original Butte 4.
Oh, maybe
Oh,
that's
that would make sense. Yeah, because it was
it. It was all
Yeah, so the original Butte 4 were the 4 older ones.
That would be Grandpa making sure he categorized everybody properly. Okay, this is Grandma's house in Glendale. We rescued LaDawn from a juvenile hall. Because when she was about, I must have been like 3 and she was probably, I don't know, 3 and 5, something like that. We were at the Grandma's house in Glendale. And right next to the house, she had a neighbor, and there was no fence, I don't think, between the neighbors. And the neighbor had a big plate glass window, you know, with all
French doors.
Huh?
French doors.
French doors. Okay, thank you. I stand corrected. French doors, and they had the individual panes there. And the way I remember it is LaDawn said, we have to stamp out all of these windows. And so she taught me that you're supposed to go like this, just boom, bump right through the glass there, and then you have to get all the edges, you know, get all 4 edges and break them out real clean. So I helped her, and we broke out every single one of those windows in those French doors. And I don't remember getting in trouble for it, but LaDawn remembers getting in trouble for it.
Well, when they came out, of course they saw that we had done that, and they were just glad that we hadn't shredded our legs. But I do remember very carefully getting all the glass out.
Yeah, you taught me how to do that, and then
Yeah.
you got to jump with both feet so that.
I don't remember jumping in there.
I can remember jumping with both feet. You got to jump in with both feet, and then so the glass doesn't get you, and then you just stamp out all the edges.
We're gonna take a quick picture with my dad and mom so that they can leave. So don't everybody get up and leave. All we're gonna do is go take a picture so they can go, and we'll come right back and continue on if that's okay.
Did she do? Well,
You sound like.
she can do it much better than I can.
Yeah, Loa. I mean, we could go around. Okay, and name the songs that Loa used to. I mean, I can remember. Do your ears hang low? Happy Days Are Here Again.
Yeah, I do remember that one.
What else was there? Somebody else come up with one. What is there?
I love you a bushel and a peck.
I love you a bushel.
I love you.
Okay.
Love you truly.
I love you a bushel and a peck.
Oh, bushel and a peck, right? Yeah.
And I love you truly. And one kiss. She loved to sing that one for weddings.
Well, that explains why I have those songs.
Well,
I have my mom's
Dorsey
music.
always played for her.
Yeah.
The one thing that she told me about your mom was that she said, you know, Dorsey was so fantastic on the piano. And she said she was so perfect that Mom was always trying to mess her over with the way she would change it every time. She never sang the song the same way twice. And she said no matter how bad I messed it up or if I cried, Darcy would just play along like it was just, you couldn't tell it was flawless, you know? And she said, I know she just probably lost her patience with me, but Mom always, there was always some weird hiccup when she would sing songs that it would be different every time she sang it. Yeah.
What year did Aunt Dorsey die?
In 82.
The year we got married.
My first 82.
July 1st.
Yeah.
I'll tell a story on my mom. Riley, who just was here for like 15 minutes and just left, my 16-year-old. The first time he shot a gun, my mom taught him how. And she had a 22, I think it was a 22, and up there in Utah, and she used to have to use it to get raccoons that would get in their garden because they just had a huge problem with them. And she took us up on the hill, and we had cans, targets, and she taught Riley how to shoot a gun. So I don't know if anybody would imagine that of my mom, but that was his first time doing it. It was pretty cool. So, and that was this summer before she died. It was in July, and then she died in January. So she had her little chemo hat on and out there with the gun. And we got some great pictures. I'll probably put one up on Family Search and try to get Riley to tell the story on there. So.
When my dad was in hospice dying, some members of our ward came to see us, and her husband got stuck talking to people all the way in. And I said, oh, I have a cousin just like that. No matter where he goes, he knows everybody there. I said his name's Robin Hargrave. Robin Hargrave's your cousin? Oh, I used to live down the street from him. When Dorsey put the flag up, we could go swimming at his house. Yeah, that's him.
She put the flag up? That's a great idea.
She said all the neighborhood kids would watch, and when Dorsey put the flag up, it meant the neighbors could come in and swim. They'd all come running.
But when my mom was sick all the time too, I remember, now that you talk about going over people's houses, you guys lived right across from Catalina grade school. And so when my mom was sick and in the hospital, when I get done with school, I'd always come over to your house until my dad got off work and come pick us up, pick me up. And I remember spending lots of afternoons over your guys' house.
And your mom taught Gwen piano lessons, and she would walk from the school to your house to take piano lessons.
Yeah.
A little farther to walk.
Yeah.
Back then they had like concrete, we had like a concrete floor, didn't we?
Yeah.
Mom would put us
Mom
on a big
waxed it.
towel, and that's how she
Buff that floor.
buffed that floor. She'd drag us around
I remember that.
the floor, and that's how she buffed that floor.
You had that little dog, Pekingese or something like that.
Miki.
Yeah.
Miki Chew.
Yeah, Miki Chew.
Until Terry took him for a walk and he got away and got hit by a car. Our cousin. He felt really bad about it.
Yeah, did your mom still have her Tom Thomas when she got married?
Oh yeah, I know.
I've never seen him.
So I've never seen him.
Because Aunt Marlene, she was cheerleader, and I remember them making those her own pom-poms there at Grandma's house.
I remember.
I always like to go in and look at the 4 pictures at Grandma's house of all the weddings of Aunt Marlene, Uncle Bill, and and I just always thought, wow, they're so pretty. They're all so nice looking, They always had that 4 pictures each one of them, huh?
Yeah, I can remember when there was only 3. I can remember him putting up Bill and Marlene's.
Really?
I can remember when Marlene had a boyfriend named Eddie. Do you remember Eddie?
I just scanned a picture of him.
Eddie Manley.
No way.
Manly?
Manley.
Serious?
Yeah.
Eddie Manley?
How different your life could have been.
Yeah, Grandma was so glad when that didn't happen.
Really?
We all know about Eddie. That was a big part of her life for a while.
Yeah, but really, guys, get on there and click. When you click on a person's name in the category, just click on photos, and there's just some cool stuff.
Don't tell all the stories on our mom though, okay?
I won't tell any stories.
Well, yeah, that's going in my book I'm working on.
No, but I have to say too, though, one of the
positive stories.
There you go. One of the things that's always been sweet to me, we went to see Daddy the night before they put him on morphine. And I remember him saying, he said, well, I guess I'm ready to go. I can't think of anything too bad I've ever done. And it just was so sweet.
Well, and Grandma always told the story about Daddy in church when he was 18 months. And he was she said he was always the perfect child. And he never threw tantrums, he never got into trouble as a baby, he was perfect. And one day at church he just was restless and he was up and down and just fidgeting and having a hard time. He says, Mama, you need to take me out and give me a spanking. And she goes, and he was the perfect child. And I'm just like, oh brother, how do you live up to that? But a lot of people thought he was perfect.
Good. Was that Uncle Claire? And we were playing cards up at your cabin.
I remember.
And and I said, who's winning? He said, yours truly.
And
I said, I am?
That's Daddy.
Yeah, I never
The
know.
worst guy, he could count cards so good.
Yeah, he was really good.
Then there's Grandpa who would try and mess everybody up playing pit.
Yeah.
He'd keep one of every suit.
Oh
so
yeah,
could
just
ever
so
win.
nobody could win. Yeah.
You remember the Chinese checkerboard that he made out of the plywood?
Yeah.
And that other game, I don't know what
The
it's
marble
called.
game.
It's
Uncle Fenton made
frustration or something like that.
Uncle Fenton
Huh?
made the marble game.
Aggravation.
Aggravation, that's what it is.
There's a few other names for it.
Yeah,
It's
I want to
aggravation.
make one of those really bad. Well, April
Fenton made
those.
all those? I thought Grandpa made them.
No, Fenton made them.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he
great.
did.
Yeah, I thought it was Grandpa too.
I was grateful to get to know Uncle Fenton after your mom had passed and he was spending a lot of time with Grandpa. I never really heard him say much until that period
I
of
swear
time.
Grandpa traded places with him, you
Yeah.
know? My dad was so ill, I went and saw him and Grandpa was so angry.
Yeah.
This is not right. You should not die before me. This is not right. And that was the night he passed away.
Yeah.
In bed, and my dad got up and we had a whole 18 months with him that we weren't supposed to have.
Yeah.
And he was totally fine.
Uh-huh.
You know, working in his garden and working in his shop, and I really think Grandpa said, listen here.
Yeah.
This is not how it's gonna go down.
My
because-
mom says that she thinks he stayed because she could not have gone through all the things that needed to happen when Grandpa died by herself.
Right, imagine if she had, yeah.
I have a
So
funny
she needed
story.
Fenton here to be
Funny
able to
story
sit
on
through
Grandpa. Oh, that was a few years before he died, and we were down at the house. We went, 7 straight years every Saturday to take care of him. And we were there, and he's like, I want to buy you guys dinner. I want to get pizza. And we're like, okay. So we called Domino's and we ordered pizza. And he says, well, I'm paying. You know how he was about paying for stuff. And so John went with him, and they went and got the pizza, and he devoured that pizza and said it was the best pizza he had ever had. Then he called, I think it was Gayla, the next week, you guys gotta come down, I'm gonna buy you pizza. He says, I found this really great place, it's really close to the house, it's called Domino's.
We also had me stop one time on the way back from the hospital. He said they had this really great little sandwich shop near his house. They made all these great sandwiches. It was Sonic.
He calls us up one time and says, we want to take you guys all out to dinner. Come over to, we live in Mesa, so that time I think we had Cleet and Kyle and maybe Adam. They weren't very big. So we go over to Grandpa's house and meet him there, and he's taking us to Luby's. I think it was Luby's restaurant.
Yeah.
And so he says, well, why don't your kids want to ride with Grandpa? And they kind of, yeah, okay. So we put the kids in Grandpa's car, and we get in our car, and we follow Grandpa. And we're following Grandpa along, and he's driving down Northern, and he's driving along, and all of a sudden we start coming up to the intersection. We see Grandpa. And now our kids are in the car with Grandpa, right? And we see Grandpa start fumbling around like this. And then he pulls out a pair of binoculars and starts reading the signs on the road. We're like going, oh, our kids are gonna die! Grandpa's gonna kill our kids!
Well, I finally took the keys from him. We were going down on the Saturdays, and his car is parked in the carport this way. You know, the car's parked this way. It's like, Grandpa, were you out driving?
He said
just
no
a little
at
bit.
first.
Yeah, he said no at first.
Yeah.
I kept pushing him. He says, well, I just drove a couple blocks down the road
To Dorothy's.
to get something. I says, Grandpa, he says, well, I just counted the number of houses. And I just says, I'm not leaving this house till I have those keys. He says he was just, I could
I heard he was mad at
understand.
you guys for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Over
he was
that.
not
We finally
happy.
got over it.
Yeah, I finally did the in-law thing. I moved in, so Luann wasn't in as big of a doghouse as I was. But yeah, it scared me to death because I mean he couldn't see anything. I was wondering he didn't run into a pole or something or a kid.
But you know, that hearing was sharp, clear to the end, just so sharp. Probably because he used those ears every day.
When my mom was sick, we would get up early in the morning when I'd stay, because I spent a lot of nights at Grandma and Grandpa's. And Grandma and I would get in the back seat, Grandma would sit next to Grandpa, and we'd drive sometimes way out in the country, and Grandma and I would sit in the car while he went in and tuned the piano. You know, and he was always tuning pianos, always tuning pianos.
Sit in the car that whole time?
Yeah. Well, not every time, but a lot of times. If he was tuning a piano like at a school, we could go in and sit down or somewhere, at church. But I remember when he was tuning pianos at people's houses. I remember one time, the sun was just coming up, and we were sitting out there, and he went in and tuned the piano. And Grandma and I just sat there, and I don't even remember what we did. But I think I kind of slept. But yeah, we were always going somewhere tuning pianos.
And then when Grandma would drive, she'd have to have how many pillows?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And do you guys remember this?
So
That's how Grandma drove.
Oh. I don't remember her driving much.
I don't know if I ever drove with her.
Oh yeah, I was just like.
I remember sitting on that really bouncy rubber pillow, that red pillow with corduroy fabric, and it was between them, and that's where we get to sit when we ride to the cabin or whatever. I remember going with them to graping, that's what Grandpa called it. We'd go pick wild grapes out in the forest, and then we'd go pick piñon nuts.
Pine nuts, yeah.
Who all went piñon picking?
We did.
Hey, they took everybody. So where is that? If I wanted to pick my
No
kids-
idea.
It had to have been high desert, you know, like Camp Verde or something, where it was a high desert, because that's where those trees grow.
She liked to look for arrowheads and
And
stones.
yeah, we'd always go looking for rocks.
Oh, the cabin. My best childhood memories truly are at that cabin.
That's where we spend our honeymoon.
Ours too. Ours too.
I still
Love that cabin.
every time I drive from Payson to Pine, I cry the whole
I
time.
know, I go up and
It's
say,
terrible.
right over there is the cabin.
Over there's the river, and over there's the natural bridge.
We used to go down and crawl out the window downstairs and then go and walk in the front. And then we'd go downstairs and crawl out the window. Until my mom would say, stop it! Stop coming in the door! I don't know why we thought that was funny.
Well,
but-
one time when we were up there, and one of your brothers was doing where he could walk down the stairs and it
Like
like
an
an
escalator. Yes, like an escalator. He would entertain us for hours on that stair. And then he could fall down
He
it
could go
too.
completely smooth. Like there
Yeah,
were
and then he
no
could
stairs.
fall from the top and you'd see legs and arms all the way. He would entertain us for hours. Doug.
Really?
Yeah, it was hysterical.
I just enjoy seeing Joel's posts on Facebook.
Yeah, me too.
So he posts everything he eats on
I
there.
know.
It's so funny.
It's very important to him.
Yeah.
Don't mock that.
I still have, I converted some old 8mm to video.
Oh, cool.
And we've lost a lot of it, but there's some of Grandpa I think, and you know, the Natural Bridge. And so I'm going to post it or something. Somehow I need to get it to you guys. So.
Do you know what? I heard in the next few months on Family Search they're going to allow video.
Okay.
So you can attach it to people.
Okay.
So maybe.
I'm not even sure exactly what's there, but I know it's all. I have it on my computer, so it's all digital right now. So I don't remember exactly how much I have. That would be
We were
appropriate.
talking about when they died. Grandma was in the hospital when I got married. So I'm the oldest granddaughter, and we lived at their house. So she was very sad for ever since I got married. She was very sad that she didn't get to go to my wedding, or even see me in my wedding dress on my wedding day.
I know I have some of that video.
What?
I know I have some of that video.
Oh, okay, great.
Well, she talked about you all the time, up until she died.
But-
You were her daughter in her mind.
Yeah,
And she
we
talked about you all the time. LaDon was the favorite.
No,
Did
just
you feel
the
that way,
first.
Robin?
Just the first.
Yeah.
And she, I guess Dan asked her about how long we stayed with him. She wrote Dan a nice note, and he sent me a copy. I was just reading it last week about how much time we spent there, and like for months at a time even.
Yeah.
And so, when our oldest was getting married, we got married in the Orlando Temple. Grandma died just a few days before he got married. And so we already had the trip planned down there, the whole wedding already planned. And I remember talking to Aunt Marlene the day of the funeral saying, please let everybody know I'm at my son's wedding. And so then, in the temple, I knew why Grandma had died when she did, because she wanted to be at his wedding, because there was really a strong sense of family. So his grandma and his great-grandmother could be at his wedding. I think that was important to her.
I don't know if I should tell this one, but I was playing with Tinker Toys in front of Grandma on the rug, and she had that wall unit there. And I was one of these times I was living with Grandma, and I was just a little kid, and I built a pretty good little thing with Tinker Toys, and she was watching some show on TV, and I was right in front of her there, and the thing broke, and I grabbed it and I said, Grandma, because I wanted her to help me. And at that time something funny happened on TV, and she just laughed. Well, I thought she was laughing at me, and I threw the Tinker Toys down. I went to the bedroom and I got in bed and I went to bed. The next morning I got up and Grandma had made all these little Tinker Toy things for me that night, and I felt bad about that day. But I just couldn't believe that I come in and she'd made all these little Tinker Toys to set them, figurines and things to set them out there for me. That's Grandma.
You mentioned something else that brought back memories, is the rag rug. You did this when you did a rug, and you remember all those rag rugs that her and great grandma made. And
or going over there and they were all doing a quilt. Do you guys go there when great grandma would be doing quilts with them?
Oh, all the time. She made all of us.
Everybody got either a bed cover or a quilt or something.
And how about the toys? All the old toys ended up at Grandma's house. Remember that old Playmobil that we used to have? Used to play the heck out of that thing.
You and Gwen and somebody else. Sandy, with that Playmobil on Christmas morning.
Yeah.
Over Grandma's house.
Gwen swore that black and white teddy bear was hers. But I have a picture when I was 2. I know it was mine.
Well, I found those letters that I sent to her just recently where Grandma wrote to Arthur, and it was, she had
I went with Grandma over there when she had
to the coast, because I was born in California, so she took me down with her to take care of me over in California.
That was really great. I enjoyed that.
Did they give a big box of cereal to every family or just ours?
Yeah, we got
Everything?
Like a
Like
giant.
a, yeah, like a like a
Yeah.
oven
Like
box.
Did they take you to Food Bazaar?
Did you guys go to Food Bazaar?
That was our
family
big
several
thing for
times.
Christmas. Around Christmas,
Yeah.
they take us over to Phoenix, you know, where the big Phoenix bird
Oh,
was in
it's
front of the
Town
mall.
and Country.
And
Yes.
they give us each
It was
like,
the first food court.
they give us
right.
like $3.
Grandpa would
each.
shake our hand and dump it into our hand.
Yes, we'd have $3, and there was every nation around represented in the little stores, and we'd go down till we had a nickel left, and we knew we could get a flour tortilla at the Mexican place for a nickel. You know, and we
We
just
spent every penny.
every penny, and
That was a lot of
it
fun.
was fun.
Well, I thought the cereal was just ours because my mom would never let us have sugar.
Same with
Yeah,
us.
same with
Is that what it was?
Yes.
And so they felt like we were deprived because we could never have sugar.
Grandpa laughed about when he went to the store and just cleaned their shelves off, you know?
Yeah.
It was real cereal.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't he hide money in that too?
Oh, I don't know. He could
I'm
have.
pretty certain
think so?
Grandpa put money in all those cereal boxes because I think he was telling
That's
us
funny.
about it. And
I
he
don't
would,
remember that.
I don't
your
remember
parents
money.
probably.
He didn't need to
Because
put
he was
money.
like
That cereal
$100
was
bills
like
in the cereal
gold.
boxes, I think is what he was telling me.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe that was for
Maybe
the
that
parents
was,
to
yeah, it was for
bribe
mom
them
and
to let us
dad.
have the
Yeah.
cereal.
Because I remember him telling us when he was doing it. Yeah.
That was awesome.
Maybe that was a generational thing, because when his mother died, they found like $2,000 or $3,000 in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Grandpa left
And
that
Grandpa
much
had
money.
it hidden all.
He said, now my sock money is behind the desk, tacked up underneath the drawer. And then he'd
Literally
say,
in a sock.
yeah, in a sock. And he says, everybody should have sock money, and you just,
That's
you know, roll
funny,
up the
and my
money
dad
and stick
did
it in
too.
the
In
sock.
fact, we just found some
Oh, yeah.
hanging out some boxes, and there was an envelope of $2 bills down there. Yeah.
You guys remember that when Grandpa, he took us in his room, you weren't allowed to go in the room. So you went in the room and he showed us his brand new typewriter that typed music.
Oh, yes, I remember.
It typed music, and I was like, wow. That's cool.
Does anyone else remember the bean pot? Karen looked at me funny when I said it. I thought, like,
No, I remember.
I can't remember, whether my mom and dad or
Was it like
somebody.
orange or
It
not?
was yellow, and it was on top of the thing, and it had something written on the bottom, and every time they take it down and look at it, they'd all laugh. It was something in Spanish. I'm not sure what
I
it
remember
was.
that part.
It was a big old yellow bowl, like a bean bowl they gave to Grandpa one year.
Huh.
How about the frosted glasses that she kept in that cabinet
Oh,
in
yeah.
the kitchen? Did you all drink out of the frosted glasses?
Yeah.
Where they were like colored halfway up, but it was like.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
I always loved the monkey cups, so I'd always go and just sit in the kitchen looking at the monkey cups, thinking, I really want to drink out of them.
And the little kissing dolls in the
Yes.
cabinet in the living room, and we would ask her, and she'd open the cabinets and make them kiss.
And she'd roll the dishwasher out.
Yeah.
It was
Hook it up to
on
the-
wheels. She'd
hook it
roll
up
it
to
out
the
into the.
Faucet, yeah.
Yeah, hook it on the faucet, yeah.
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah,
We had one like that, yeah.
Did it by
They
hand.
did it in an apartment once.
Armstrong.
I just
There was-
remember how thrifty Grandpa was, and like when he passed away, like his bed, his mattress was not very good, so he put the foam and then on more foam, and he hammered it in and safety pinned everything.
His bedroom was a scientific experiment.
My-
Oh,
Yeah,
Strings and safety
I
pins
have
and
extension
clips,
cords.
Extension cords,
I
yeah.
have his rake
Baling wire,
in my
duct
garage
tape,
on the wall. I
and
have his
string.
rake.
And
It was
Safety pins.
one of the metal rakes,
Yeah.
and the handle had gotten old and gotten loose. There's string tied on the rake. It went up the handle. There was a screw in it. Put the string down, so the rake was
I think my dad and I don't have any idea where those pictures are, but when they cleaned out that house, my dad photographed everything like that he could find that Grandpa had Jimmy rigged, or also the things that Grandpa had done to make Grandma's life easier because of, you know, whatever,
Like the sacrament cup.
the sacrament cups.
What's that?
and
What's that one?
That was, I remember he had
Two paper plates.
two paper plates stapled together, you know, like face
this.
against each other, and then had cut out little circles in
Made it
And then
look like
hairspray
that
lids.
tray.
Weren't they hairspray lids?
hairspray lids for the little cups.
Oh.
And so that was when they came to their house to give Grandma the sacrament.
Yeah.
That was really precious. I don't know what they did with that. I don't know.
Well, and he had I remember a stick once, a long dowel, and the end of it there was a slit cut in it. And people are looking and say, what's that? I know exactly that. That's to change the channel on the TV. When he was in bed, he could reach and stick that when they used to have the slot. Stick it on, click, 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 you know, change his channel.
He was so
Inventive. It's amazing.
I got the little chest of drawers that was in the bathroom in the hall, and it has a little piece of wood screwed on the side, and it was so that Grandma could get up off the toilet with that little piece of wood. I left it on. I still keep it on there. It's cute. It's been screwed on so she has a handle.
They used to burn matches in the bathroom to get rid of the odor, and I got in trouble for playing with those matches. I'll tell you something else. Somebody else got in trouble with Robin.
Well,
you want to tell them about
you
that?
get spanked by Grandpa? I hold the record. Remember, and I have it today. Do you remember the grinder?
Grinding wheel?
Grinding wheel.
Yeah, I got it.
This is kind of, this is.
Dan remembers a little bit different than me, but
Yeah.
I just remember Grandpa we started playing with that wheel, and I guess it vibrated and you could hear it in the house.
Oh yeah.
Grandpa comes out there and says, "Quit, don't play with that," you know. So Grandpa goes in and shuts the door. You know, wham! I was standing with my back to the door doing the grinding wheel.
All I can remember is I just said, "You better not do that." I was standing at the door of the utility room, you know, and I just stepped back.
Grandpa had a clear shot. I had my back to him. He's like, wham! I told you not to play with that one.
Well, my mom, when we lived in Chandler, we had our house, which was a double wide trailer, and then we had a corral with our cow in it, which was quite a distance from the house, and there was water out there. And we could never figure out, you know now as adults how plumbing works, that she could hear when we turned the water on out there, and she'd open that door, turn the water off, and we're like, how? I mean, we would just crack it for just a second, and she could hear it in the pipes in the house, and we never could figure out, how does she know when we turn the water
Yeah,
on?
but women have a special sense of humor. Sorry.
The door would fly open, and we're like, how far do you think it was? How many yards? I mean, it was a long ways from the house. And she knew when the water was on. I was like, ah.
Well, my favorite was when Daddy and Grandpa would start telling jokes and laugh till the tears were just streaming. It took a lot to get Daddy to that point. Didn't take Grandpa too far.
No.
Because if you recall, he used to carry jokes in his pocket on index cards. He would write them down, and then he's, I got a joke.
This is Grandpa or your dad?
Grandpa.
Oh.
Yeah, and
You remember that pocket full?
he always had the index cards and the pens, and
They were always bad.
if he heard a good joke, he'd write it down and then tell it, and he'd laugh before he could get it out. But that's the story of Daddy and Grandpa wiring the chandelier in the cabin into the rake.
The rake into the...
Grandpa was on the floor holding the chandelier up so Dad could wire it to the ceiling, and Dad wired it through the rake. So when he told Grandpa to let go, the rake was swinging in the chandelier. And they just laughed so hard. They were on the floor just crying and laughing and laughing.
Repeat that same thing every time they tell the story. They'll both be tear-eyed.
Yeah, that's one of their favorite stories.
The practical joke that I remember is my mom and dad bought him a pen. You know, the nice pens where you open the cap, and this was a nice pen. Back then, if you had a pen that opens with a cap, it wasn't like a Bic. That was before Bic. So it was a nice pen. It was a fountain pen.
Right.
And this looked like a fountain pen, but it was spring loaded and it had a cap in it. So when you opened it up, the spring fell forward and the cap went off. Okay, so it's boom, it's a trick pen, you know. And they gave it to him for his birthday, and you know he thought, oh, that's nice, and he put it aside. Oh, Grandpa, we want to see. Want you to see how it writes. You know, so he was just going right into his study when he opened that up, and boom, his elbow hit the door. You know, he thought that was really funny.
Like the electric nose picker we got him.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that.
What about, who was it? It was one of your dads that, where did they go their mission?
Someone went to he went,
Texas.
Southern
Where did your
states.
dad go?
He didn't go.
Well, what was that little Asian guy that like every time my dad would come?
Fenton was in Korea.
Oh, that was right.
During the
And
war, yeah.
my dad would always turn the arms backwards to make Grandma mad. And then so every time he'd come, we'd like take the arms out and put them in backwards, and then he'd like, I don't remember that.
Wasn't it Oriental guy that was carving, that had this carving thing going on?
Yeah, so she'd take
Yeah, I
the
always
arms
thought,
out and put them backwards.
I can remember vaguely something about that, that she didn't like the arms or something like that. And to me, that was, it was a guy carving this statue out of wood. But he was himself was made out of wood, and he was doing this hammer and chisel carving. And I always looked at that, and why is he hurting that little baby?
Well, my dad would always tease her by like turning the arms backwards every time she'd go.
And then they had the little Oriental things with the dolls that were inside of another doll.
Yeah, the nesting.
Nesting dolls.
I remember going to see great grandma, and she would sit there and tell us story after story without her teeth, and we were just like, do you understand what grandma's saying? I don't understand.
I always thought it was cool to play with the mail slot.
Yeah. Put your hand in there.
That was cool. You could go outside, drop something down in the mail slot. Go inside. There it is.
We got each other little notes.
And do you remember the little statue of the guy with the big nose asleep in the chair in front of a TV?
Oh, yeah.
I can't even remember what the caption was on that, but I can remember that thing.
The doll that never came out of its box.
Yeah, that
The little family trees, the plastic family trees with everybody. There was a time I can remember where she had everyone in the family on a plastic tree. And they were all in their proper places, but it got to be overwhelming after a time.
Remember the color rotisserie on the tinsel Christmas tree?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was so cool, you know?
And because Grandma had bubble lights, we found bubble lights online.
Oh, bubble lights. The ones that boiling lights.
They look like a little flower with a glass thing and they bubble.
They heat up and they start bubbling in water.
It looks like water's boiling in a little.
Yeah.
Should we get some pictures
Yeah.
before everybody starts taking off?
So, could we get original cousins first? And then we'll all retrieve our children?
Now the original